Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to our review of SISU.
This is not about who's the strongest. This is about not giving up. We have a word for that in Finland.
And I just want to start this off by thanking the folks over at Lionsgate for setting us up with an early screener to check this film out. It was a very big honor to get to watch this, which, gotta admit, not a horror film. This is not something that we normally do. We usually try to stay in the world of horror. But, I mean, with a thing like Splattercast as kind of our logo and our mainstay here, we kind of looked at this and we were kind of like, well, this is a little grindhousey. It's from a director who has dabbled in the world of horror. And, it's something that we're kind of interested in. So we said, why not? It's our channel. We can justify it. And I'm sure you folks won't be that upset with us. So we got to check it out early. And Luke, how'd you feel about Sisu?
Oh man, well, I don't know if we've ever talked about on the channel. I don't think it's ever come up as far as I recall. I'm a huge fan of rare exports. Us being fans of holiday horror, that's no secret. So as soon as we were I think we were bombarded, at least from Bloody Disgusting, because I kept seeing updates about Sisu coming out, and just little photos and things like that. So I was pretty highly anticipating this film. So as soon as we were able to get that screener, I was so excited to check this one out. And to be honest, it did not disappoint.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. I saw this one probably about a week or so back now. And this did not disappoint. I think that if you are coming at us for a, horror-centric audience, this is one of those films that I would say, even if you are a horror fan, I think this is worth checking out because the gore and the splatter is there. If that's what you really enjoy about horror movies, you're going to get that here. And, not to be too dramatic or anything, this is a very, very fun movie. Okay, so I'm not trying to bring the house down, but it does have a lot to do with the horrors of war. So if we got to, bring it to that, we can. But yes, this does do a great job of kind of walking that line between not only showing those horrors, but also giving you a bloody good time while watching it.
Yeah. This one dealing with a more serious subject matter in a certain sense, but also I don't think it necessarily takes itself overly serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one definitely has that horror DNA attached to it, even though this isn't like blatant horror. It's something like kind of, I guess you'd say maybe like a RoboCop or something where those elements are presented lightly. And as Dylan mentioned, I mean, the splatter is off the charts in this thing.
Oh,
so
yes.
It's like you're really coming into this one. You're not gonna walk out of this feeling heavy or something that's gonna like stick with you in a depressing manner at all. This is something where when you go in, you're in for a throw ride from the very beginning to the ending credits. I mean, they keep up this momentum throughout. I love that this thing is divvied up into chapters, which I wasn't expecting. I love when we get stuff like that. And, when we talked about the Outwaters a few months ago, where that one was kind of sectioned off as well. This one kind of, I don't know if it was just those title cards like that remind me of something like a Quentin Tarantino film. It just kind of gave me those vibes a little bit, but the aesthetic to this, there's some beautiful shots of the landscape as well. There's a lot of positives in Sisu.
Absolutely. And I would definitely say that there is some Tarantino love spread about this film. But not to say that it's like a direct ripoff or anything like that. I know that for some people that might turn them off directly, but I wouldn't say that it has that much of a style. I think the overall presentation is very Tarantino-like. The overabundance of gore, but even the way they present the gore is kind of more of a gritty look. You know what I mean? Like, yes, is a little over the top here and there, but it is definitely gritty and dirty. And I mean, you got to think about it. They're walking around in the dirt and the minefields and just the soot and everything of just these destroyed towns during World War II, of what the Nazis did and how they came through and destroyed all these things. So you really get to sit in this world, and they do an excellent job as far as set design and the locations they chose and everything to really bring the most out from those. I was really blown away just by the shot composition and the cinematography in this movie. Now, this is going to look amazing on the big screen. I watch this on my living room television, so it was one of those things where I have a nice TV. I pride myself in having a really nice TV. And it looked great there, so I can only imagine how this is going to look on screen. And there are a couple of action set pieces in this that I absolutely want to try to get out to the theater and see this upcoming month, because gosh, it would look amazing on the big screen.
Absolutely. And just going into those set pieces, like looking back at rare exports, you can tell the director has this very particular trajectory, I think, like where we kind of start off a little more contained and then he keeps upping the ante throughout the film until we get into an all actiony set piece by the end of this film, which SISU falls right in line with that. And there's so many great things going on. Just the fight sequences alone are just tremendous a lot of the times. And it's not something, for me, it didn't come off as stylistic as something like a John Wick, which I know this film's going to be compared to pretty heavily. It's like Dylan said, it's more gritty. It's not as, I guess you'd say, technique based. It feels very dirty. I mean, our protagonist is a gold miner, so he spends the entire film, as soon as we meet him, pretty much already dirty. And then he gets dirty and his hands get dirtier and dirtier throughout this. So it is, there's a lot of interesting things going on. Like when you look at something like an action film like this, and again, it's going to be compared to John Wick. I think they've done a great job distinguishing themselves and finding their own voice for this film, because there's a lot of interesting things going on. You can tell that there was a lot of thought put into these action sequences and the transitions going from one piece to the next, because it all makes sense and it's all very intriguing.
Absolutely. And one of the big positives I want to give is to Jamari Helander, who's the director here. It's something where, like we said, we are familiar with his work. We both like Rare Exports quite a bit. I know, Luke, you were championing that movie years ago when we first started hanging out and things like that. So it's like, for me, this is one of the first films that I've gotten to like really sit down and anticipate from this director, because I usually hear about his stuff secondhand. So the fact that we have this now coming out in theaters and that it's going to be, I have a pretty wide release from what I understand. When I went and saw a movie today, I saw posters for this. I'm pretty excited for it. I think that this is going to be a really nice feather in this director's cap as far as getting him bigger projects, because I think that if we get a lot of eyes on this film, I feel like general audiences will flock to this. I feel like this is definitely something that has, like we said, it walks that balance between having kind of that serious tone in some spots with the messaging and just kind of the overall subtext of the movie, but it knows how to have a fucking good time. And, all of the actors in this do a phenomenal job. Everybody from, the Nazi, I guess, what would you call him? The leader, the leader of the tank
Commander,
guy,
maybe.
Commander. Yeah, I didn't get everything put
all
there.
the rankings.
Yeah, but the main actor, which they are all from Finland, so I might butcher their names. I apologize. Jorma Tommila. I know he's worked with Jamari a couple of times. I think in almost every film he's done.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things we're seeing him take on this character, and the thing, I don't want to give it away, but what they choose to do with him, as far as how they present his character, I absolutely was eating up around every corner, not just in the sense of how he portrays his character and what elements he doesn't bring to it, but the elements that the other characters bring to him.
Yeah.
And, that was something that I was just eating up left, right, and center, because it's like, I love a good story with an interesting character where, they set up things like legends and stories, and, not everybody's story is straight, but it's like, there's something eerie and interesting about this guy. And I think that they pulled it off beautifully.
Yeah. And the opening of this film, it has a very interesting, probably I'd say, 12 or 13 minutes of the opening, just because it is something different, where a lot of these films are just right out of the gate going. This one does take its time. And it's interesting because I think it takes its time, but it doesn't feel slow, and I think some
No.
films like that can start dragging, but this one, um, as we're introduced to our protagonist and we're going throughout this film, it's an intriguing setup, and then it leads to, and it is in the trailer, where you see one of his first encounter with
Mhm.
the Nazis, and that's really a showcase of a lot of the fighting skill and just the gore that we're about to ensue throughout the rest of this film and just consume. And it's like right out of the gate, as soon as we get into that first fight sequence, I mean, we're just bombarded with some lovely, lovely gore.
Absolutely. And my favorite gore sequence isn't in the trailer, so I can't speak on it. But when you get to that sequence, you will absolutely know because it is throat slashingly gorgeous. Like it is, I love everything about what they did in that sequence. It is smart. It is something I've never seen before. And just the concept alone is just absolutely brilliant. And just one of those things where, as an action film fan, as a horror fan, as a gore hound, it just checked every single box for me. It's just like, yes, this is a film I would love to own on 4K. I would totally see myself watching this time and time again, just for the simple fact that, again, it is fun. It is a good time. And I think one of the quotes in the trailer that I keep saying is like, it is the best time you'll have watching Nazis get destroyed. Absolutely. Because, I mean, they're the universal bad guy. They are the stormtroopers of the modern world. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is something where it's like you can go in, you can watch this and watch really bad people get what's coming to them. And honestly, I love the way it wraps up. There's a lot of surprising elements to this movie too, that I can't get into without spoiling, that I just didn't see coming, with other characters getting introduced, and just the ending. Honestly, the perfect cherry on top to all of this. I thought it was funny, heartfelt, and just wonderful.
Yeah, it has an absolutely satisfying ending. You don't even know what you're getting until it is happening, and it's just so worth the wait, I think. Again, this film is a thrill ride through and through. There's a lot of great things. There's a particular sequence where I'm not going to go into detail, but with gasoline and fire, and it's used in a very creative way. I absolutely loved it because it's like one of those things where you don't even think about it again until it's happening, and you're like, man, this was a well thought out film, and it is such a fun ride. This is something, yeah, we got the screener for. I really do want to go out to the theater to see this one,
I do
just
too.
for the support and for what this is going to look like on the screen. I don't know what the budget here was, but whatever it was, they made great use of every little thing in this film. Um, and like you said, I believe this is, at least from our knowledge, the first theatrical release for the director. So I don't know if, and this one might open up a little more. I know it's not like playing necessarily close to us. But it's just a short drive, I guess. But it's like I'm really curious to see what's going to happen after this, especially seeing like rare exports to Sisu. I'm curious to see what he's going to be dropping on us next.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is definitely a director I like to look out for. And this is just another reason to put him into my old Rolodex of spin it, see who's been around for a minute, and be like, what are they up to next? Because, like, yeah, this is just another wonderful treat. I can't give this movie any more high praise than that. I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it. Again, if you are a horror fan and you're strictly looking for shouts and scares, you're not going to really get that here. But if you are a gore hound, this is definitely worth checking out. It's a lot of fun. They do not hold back with any of the gore sequences, and just the amount of creativity they add to not just the gore, but the action in general. It is a slick 91 minutes, and I do not think you'll be disappointed for catching this one at your local cinema.
Not at all. I think this one is well worth your time. In this one, yeah, not straight up horror. I do believe it has that horror DNA that you can kind of make a case for, where it's not like a Die Hard or anything like that. This has some horror roots based into it. So I think if you are a fan of a splatterfest, you will absolutely love Sisu. But there's some great storytelling and some great action sequences in here as well. So you can't really beat it. It's a fast-paced movie, really goes. So as those credits are rolling, I guarantee you're going to want more.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys. So until next time, that kind of ends us here for Sisu. Definitely check this thing out. It will be hitting cinemas on April 28th. So definitely check it out. It is theaters only. So yeah, go out, support this movie. If you need any more gushing or anything about that, I'm sure you'll start seeing those reviews roll out here soon, because I feel like a lot of people are going to really like this movie. But other than that, we do have a lot of great stuff on the channel. We just had the big Evil Dead weekend where we had a lot of great content. We did a collaboration with Evan from Rockland Graves going over all the spoilerific details of Evil Dead Rise, going through each act of the film, discussing our favorite parts, little criticisms here and there, but overall a blast of a time, as well as our non-spoiler review if you haven't gotten out there to see it just yet. And of course, I did myself a little Evil Dead essay as well, going over the entire franchise. So you can kind of watch both of those in succession with each other. And I think it's a great way to spend 2 hours. So that's just my recommendation. But yeah, we got a lot of great other stuff coming to the channel. Lots of good videos coming up soon. And yeah, I am excited to get those to you. So until next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.